Hello everyone, welcome back to the lecture series of constraint optimization problem. In today's lecture we will see how we can solve any non-linear programming problem using separable programming. So as I told you earlier also, if objective function and all the constraints are separable, that kind of problem is called separable programming problem. Okay, now let us see how we can solve, what will be the solving process of these kind of problems. Before that, let me see is the problem is separable programming problem or not. So we will quickly go through our objective function. So objective function, if you will see, it can be separated as two functions, fx1 plus f2x2, where f1x1 is 3x1 square and f2x2 is x2 square. Okay, similarly first constraint equation can be written as g1 x1 plus g2 x2. Okay, where g1 x1 is x1 square and g2 x2 is x2 square. And third constraint is fx is equals to hx is equals to h1 x1 h2 x2, where h1x is x1 and h2 x2 is h2. Okay, so our objective function can be separated into two functions and each function is of one variable. The first constraint is also separable and second constraint is also separable. Okay, non-negative condition is also separable. So it is a separable programming problem. Now how to solve this? So what is the problem? Problem is of maximizing fx subjected to these conditions. So objective function can be rewritten as combination of two, f1 x1. Constraint is can also written as g1 x1 plus g2 x2 less than equals to 9, and third constraint equation is also less than equals to 3, and all negative condition can be leave as it is. Okay, now we have seen f1 value, f1 x1 value, f2 x2 value, all the function separable function value. Now this is because the function is separable programming problem. Now to solve this problem, first we have to find out the bounds of our variables. So how? First step is to find or you can say calculate the bounds of the variables. So how many variables are involved in the problem? In problem, two variables are involved, x1 and x2. First find the bound of the problem. So you can easily see that minimum value of x1 is 0. Okay, and from this constraint maximum value of x1 is 3. Even from this constraint, if you substitute, if you substitute x1 x2 equals to 0 in second constraint, x1 is less than equals to 3. Even for second constraint, it is x1 will be less than equals to 9x square, so which is nothing else plus minus, but we will take plus 1 only. Okay, so we can simply say that bound of x1 is from 0 to 3. Similarly, lower bound of x2 is 0, and the upper bound for x2 you can find out x1 equals to 0, then x2 is less than equals to 3 from this constraint as well as from this constraint equation. From both the constraint equation, upper bound of x2 is 3. Okay, so other constraints also satisfy. So the bound of x2, x1 is in between 3, 0 and 3, and similarly bound of x2 is in between 0 and 3. Okay, first of all find the bound corresponding to the variable involved in the problem. Here we have only two variable x1 and x2. To found the bound corresponding to all variable we have found. Next is, now once finding the bound, we will find now it is a function of x1. Okay, so now we will see x1 is in between 0 and 3, 0 and 3. It's okay. So we have marked grid point as 0, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so these are the grid points. So it is A0, this one is A1, this is A2, this is A3. Okay, so what is f1 x1, which is equals to 3x1 square, okay, at this grid point. So when A0 is 0, so substituting 0, x1 equals to 0, you will get f1 x1 as 0. Okay, when you put 1, so 1 square into 3 will give you 3. 2 square into 3 will give you 12 and then 27. Okay, now we will focus on g1 x1, that is x1 square. So square of these grid point will give you this function value, that is 0, 1, 4 and 9. Okay, now h1 x1, which is x1, so it's same as grid point, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the corresponding to the label x1, these are the function value. Now similarly for x2, x2 is in between 0 and 3. Again we will divide our grid point as 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, these are the bounds of x2, which is same as x1, and we have divided in 3 points. So again we will find out f2 x2, which is equals to 2x2 square, which is 0 for 0. For 1 it is 1 square into 2 square is 4 into 2 is 8, 3 square 9 into 4 is 3 square is 9, 9 into 4 is 9 into 2 is 18, not 4. Okay, now similarly g2 x2 will give you x2 square, that is 0, 1, 4, 9, and h2 x2 is x2 itself, so that is also 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we first find the bound corresponding to all the variables involved in the problem, then fix the grid points and for all the variables, and then find the x1 f1 x1, g1 x1, h1 x1 and so on. Okay, similarly for second variable. Now we will write the linear combination of this problem. So how to write? So objective function will be maximization of fx is equals to, now corresponding to this grid point we are having, corresponding to x1 grid point, it's lambda naught, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, and similarly corresponding to x2 variable we are having mu naught, mu 1, mu 2, mu 3. Okay, so we have already seen how to write down fx. So fx is nothing but f1 x1 plus f2 x2. So we find the linear combination of f1 x1 first. So linear combination of f1 x1 is 0 lambda naught plus 3 into lambda 1 plus 12 into lambda 2 plus 27 into lambda 3. Okay, how to find the approximation of f to x2? That is 0 into mu naught plus mu 1 plus 8 mu 2 plus 18 mu 3. So what will be fx is nothing, sum of linear combination approximation. Okay, so that is, it will give us fx equals to 0 lambda 1 plus 3 lambda 1, 0 lambda 0, 3 lambda 1, 12 lambda 2, 27 lambda 3 plus, now for fx2 you are writing 0 mu naught plus 2 mu 1 plus 8 mu 2 plus 18 mu 3. Okay, subjected to the conditions that involved. First constraint involves sum of g1 x1 g2 x2. Okay, so what is the linear approximation of g1 x1? Again 0 lambda naught plus 1 lambda 1 plus 4 lambda 2 plus 9 lambda 3. So again you can write it as 0 lambda naught plus 1 lambda 1 plus 4 lambda 2 plus 9 lambda 3 for g1 x1. g2 x2 again same, mu naught plus mu 1 plus mu 2 plus mu 3. Okay, so put it here also, 0 mu naught plus 1 mu 1 plus 4 mu 2 plus 9 mu 3, and this constraint equation is less than equals to 9. Okay, similarly for h1 we can write 0 lambda naught plus 1 lambda 1 plus 2 lambda 2, from here we are writing, okay, plus 3 lambda 3 corresponding to h1 x1. From for h2 x2 it will be 0 mu naught plus 1 mu 1 plus 2 mu 2 plus 3 mu 3, and this is less than equals to 3. Okay, which is linear combination of h1 x1 plus h2 x2. Okay, now what is the linear approximation of x1? Okay, x1 linear approximation is 0 lambda naught plus 1 lambda 1 plus 2 lambda 2 plus 3 lambda 3. Okay, so x1 is equals to 0 lambda naught plus 1 lambda 1 plus 2 lambda 2 plus 3 lambda 3, and corresponding to x2 it is 0 mu naught plus, it's 0, okay, plus 1 mu 1 plus 2 mu 2 plus 3 mu 3. Okay, and all the variables, all lambda I, I'm just writing it, all the lambda I and mu j should be greater than or equals to 0 for all I and j. Okay, now lambda naught conditions, if you will see, this lambda naught plus lambda 1 plus lambda 2 plus lambda 3 should be equals to 1. This we have seen in last lecture also. Then mu naught plus mu1 plus mu2 plus mu3 is equals to 1. Okay, so basically what we are doing, first we see that one variable x1. Okay, forget about the other variable. We are making linear approximation corresponding to that variable. Okay, then we are doing the same thing with second and forget about the remaining, and we are making linear approximation corresponding to the variables, and lambda I and mu i's may not be same, so we are making different constraints. Lambda naught, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 is equals to 1, mu naught plus mu 1 plus mu 2 plus mu 3 is equals to 1. So now next condition is at most 2 lambda I should be greater than 0 and they must be adjacent. They must be adjacent. Okay. Same condition is for mu j's. 2 mu j's should be greater than 0 and they must be adjacent. Okay. So mu j's and mu lambda j's, they must be adjacent. Okay, so same condition is for lambda and mu. So this will be linear approximation of this non-linear programming problem, I mean separable programming problem. Now the question arises how to solve this problem. Okay, so we find the linear approximation of the f. Next we find the approximation of all the constraints. Okay, but how to solve this problem? Now this problem is clearly a linear programming problem. This is LPP. Okay, but we have another restriction, and the restriction is that at most 2 lambda I should be greater than 0 and they must be adjacent, and at most 2 mu j should be greater than 0 and they must be adjacent. So this is that additional condition which we are having. So how to take care of this condition while solving LPP by simplex method? So let us see. Okay, so first is our first constraint is less than equals to 9. So we will add a slack variable, and we will add a slack variable for less than equals to 3 also. Here we will add S1, here we will add S2. Okay, so this is our given LPP, and to solve it using simplex method, we will convert our, if it's in minimization form, we will convert in maximum, but it's already in maximum form, my objective function. All the constraints are less than equals to form. Okay, so simply we just change inequality constraint as an equation by adding slack variable S1 and S2. Okay, and in this problem we have to find x1 and x2, which are given by these equations. Okay, so now let us see how to solve this problem. Okay, so now we will first draw the simplex table. We have seen that this is LPP problem. Okay, and how to solve? We will make the simplex table as we have seen in simplex method, two-phase method, how to make a simplex table. Okay, so here we are writing the coefficients of all the basic variable in objective function, that is 0, 0, 0, 0. Similarly, coefficients of all the variables in objective functions are written here. These are the coefficients of variables in the constraint equations. Okay, and these are the value when all the decision variables are kept 0. So if we will kept all the variables 0, S1 is equals to 9, S2 is equals to 3, lambda naught is equals to 1, mu naught is equals to 1. So these are their values. Okay, so this is my simplex table. Now we will do we will find the delta j's. Okay, so delta j, how we can find out? CB into xj means lambda naught over here. So 0 into anything will be 0. So what will be the values? All these values for every delta j is 0 because CB's are 0. So negative of j we will write here, that is 0, minus 3, minus 12, minus 27, 0, minus 2, minus 8, minus 18, 0, 0. So which one is the most negative? Delta j. Minus j is most negative. Okay, so lambda 3 is my incoming variable. Okay, now we will find what will be the outgoing variable. For that we will find the minimum ratio. So xb divided by lambda 3 coefficients will give you minimum ratio, that is 9 divided by 9 is 1, 3 divided by 3 is 1, 1 divided by 1 is 1, 1 divided by 0 we will ignore it. So now these three can be outgoing variable. Now we will choose lambda naught as outgoing variable. Why? Because lambda 3, if lambda 3 is incoming variable, then lambda naught should be outgoing variable, because all the lambdas, they must be adjacent. If we are leaving any other of them, then lambdas are not adjacent, so we can't do that. So lambda naught is my outgoing variable, because if it's leaving, then only lambda 3 can be able to come. Otherwise lambda 3 and lambda 2 are not adjacent, so that's not possible, because lambda 3 over here, if lambda naught is giving, then only we will get the maximum value of function. Okay, and this one is the pivot element. So we make pivot element column element as 0, you will make them 0, and this pivot element will remain 1. It's already 1, so we don't have to change it. So now we will form the next simplex table. So this is our first simplex table. Mu naught, lambda naught is outgoing variable, lambda 3 is incoming variable, 1 is our pivot element. So we will draw the second simplex table. So incoming variable coefficient function in objective function is 27. So we have written its coefficient as 27. All other elements will be updated based on pivot element. Since pivot element is 1, so new R3 is same as old R3. This pivot column element is 0, so we don't have to change that also, so it will also remain same. Now over here it's 3, so new pivot row R2 will be equals to old R2 minus 3 into R3 new pivot row. Okay, and similarly for R1 we will apply operation old R1 minus 9 into R3 dash. Okay, you apply those on each the elements, you will get these values. Now we will calculate delta j's. So delta j is, this is 0, this is 0, so for this it is 27, minus 0 is 27, then again 27 minus 3 is 24, then again 27 minus 12 is 15, 27 minus 27 is 0. Okay, then 0 0, so we are just writing its negative of cj's and 0. Okay, so now we will see the variable with most negative value. So it is mu 3. So if we are considering mu 3 as incoming variable, so what will be the minimum ratios? Minimum ratio corresponding to that will be 0 divided by 9 is 0, 0 divided by 0 is 0, this 1 divided by 0 is undefined, 1 divided by 1 is 1. So what are the minimum ratios? So we can remove only S1 and S2. So if we are entering mu 3, okay, and mu naught is already there, so that means either variable, either s1 or s2 can be removed, and mu4, if mu3 is coming in the basic variable and mu1 mu0 is already there, so mu0 and mu3 are not adjacent, so it is not possible, so we can't enter mu3. Okay, we have seen that mu's should be greater than 0 and they should be adjacent, but mu3 and mu0 are not adjacent, so we can't enter mu3 in our basics. Okay, but if mu is leaving, then we can do that, but since here mu is not leaving, so we will not enter mu3. Okay, so mu3 is not leaving because ratio of is not minimum, ratio of these two are not minimum, so we can't enter this. Then next to enter is mu2. So again we will see the ratio 0 divided by 4 is 0, 0 divided by 3 is 0, 1 divided by 0 is again not defined, 1 divided by 1 is 1. Again we can remove s1 and s2. Okay, if you leave s1 or s2 and mu2 is coming in the basis, then mu2 and mu1 mu0 are not adjacent, so again we can't enter mu2. Next is mu1. So if we enter mu1, ratio is again 0 divided by 1 is 0, 0 divided by 2 is 0, 1 divided by 0 is not defined, 1 divided by 1 is 1. So again we can leave s1 and s2. But if now we are entering mu1, that will be adjacent to mu0, so it is allowed. Okay, so because we have an additional condition, if two lambdas are greater than 0, they must be adjacent. Similarly for mu j's, we are having that if they are greater than 0, they must be adjacent. So this condition we have to take care of the entire simplex algorithm. If this condition is violated, so that means our approximation, our linear approximation of the function not possible. So this entire condition, this conditions should be maintained during our whole calculation. Okay, so now what is our pivot element? This is our incoming variable, so we are considering s1 as outgoing variable. We can consider any one. So what is our pivot element? 1 is our pivot element. Okay, so now with the help of this simplex table, we will form our new simplex table. In this we have seen this is outgoing variable, this is incoming variable, and this is pivot element. So new simplex table will be having incoming variable mu1 as basic variable. Its coefficient in objective function is 2, so we have written 2. All other things will be modified based on pivot element. Since pivot element is 1, so this row will remain same as r1 dash is equals to r1. Then r2 is 2, we have to make it 0. So new r2 dash is old r2 minus 2 into pivot row. Then this is 0, it will remain same because our motive is to make pivot row as identity row, so it will remain same. Here it is 1, so r4 is equals to old r4 minus r3 1. Okay, so apply these operations on the each row and you will get these elements. Now find the delta j's value. So delta j is 2, minus 9 is minus 18, plus 27 will give you 9, cj is 0. Then minus 16 plus 27 is 11, 11 minus 3 is 8. Minus 10 plus 27 minus plus 27 will give you plus 17, minus 12 is 5. 0 plus 27 minus 27 will give you 0. 0 into 0, it is 0, plus minus 0 is 0. So all these rows are 0, you can check it. This value is 2 and 0. Since all the deltas are positive, so given objective function value is optimal solution, its value is 27. So this is optimal solution. So what are the optimal solution value? mu1 is 0. Okay, s2 is 0, lambda 3 is 0, sorry 1, lambda 3 is 1, and mu naught is 1. Okay, so these are our optimal solution. When you substitute in x1 x2, you will get the value of x1 x2, which is mu naught is 0, mu1 is 0, mu2 is 0, mu3 is 1. So x1 is equals to 3, mu naught is 1, 1 multiply 0 is 0, 1 multiply mu naught is 0, so this is also 0, mu2 into mu2 is 0, so it is 0, mu3 is 0, so x2 is 0. So optimal solution of x1 and x2 is 3 and 2. Now what will be the maximum function value? So this is our function value. In this you will see lambda naught is 0, mu1 is 0, mu2 is 0, it is 1. So this will be 27. Mu naught is 1, 1 into 0 is 0, mu1 is 0, this will become 0, 0, 0, these are already 0. So what is the maximum value of function is 27. Even you can check it from here also, our function value is 27. Okay, so this is the optimal solution of the given problem. Okay, that's how we solve any non-linear programming problem using separable programming. So that's all for today's lecture. Thank you.